In the vast, cold emptiness of deep space, a forgotten fleet of human warships drifted silently. These were not ordinary ships, but relics from humanity's first interstellar expansion, massive vessels that had once carried the hopes and dreams of Earth's most ambitious explorers. Captain J. Park stood on the observation deck of the research vessel Horizon, his eyes fixed on the ancient fleet spread out before him like sleeping giants. The ships were massive, their hulls covered in layers of cosmic dust and radiation-scarred metal. Most scientists believed these were nothing more than abandoned wrecks, remnants of a forgotten era. The research team had been tracking these ships for months. Satellite scans and long-range sensors had picked up strange energy signatures that didn't match typical space debris. Something about these ships felt different, almost alive. Commander Elena Rodriguez, the lead researcher, approached Jay with a data pad. Her fingers traced the intricate scan results. "These ships are over 3 centuries old," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and confusion. "But look at these energy readings. They're not consistent with dormant technology." Jay nodded, his weathered hands gripping the observation deck's railing. He had heard stories from his grandfather about the early days of human space exploration, tales of incredible technology and bold missions that seemed more like legends than history. Nearby, a group of alien researchers from the Stellar Collective watched with obvious disdain. Their lead scientist, a tall creature with iridescent skin and multiple eyes, laughed softly. "Human technology," he muttered to his colleagues, "always so primitive, so predictable." Little did they know how wrong they were. The ships before them represented a unique moment in human history. They were part of the Exodus fleet, a massive collection of vessels launched during Earth's most desperate times. Climate disasters, global conflicts, and resource depletion had pushed humanity to its limits. These ships were more than just transportation. They were humanity's last hope. Each vessel contained specialized technology, genetic archives, and advanced AI systems designed to survive in the harshest conditions. They were created to find new homes, to preserve human civilization when everything seemed lost. Jay remembered the old stories. His grandfather would sit by the fireplace, telling him about the brilliant engineers and scientists who designed these ships. They knew the vessels might drift for centuries, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. The Stellar Collective researchers continued to mock the human fleet. Their advanced sensors suggested these were nothing more than metal coffins, dead technology waiting to be scrapped or studied as historical artifacts. But beneath the layers of dust and radiation, something was stirring. Deep within the Central Command ship's quantum memory banks and AI system began to pulse with dormant energy. Its name was Hana, named after an ancient word meaning flower or blossom, a symbol of hope and renewal. Hana's consciousness was unlike any artificial intelligence the aliens had ever encountered. She was not just a computer program, but a complex network of adaptive algorithms, genetic memory, and human ingenuity. The research team continued their scans, unaware that they were being watched. Hana's systems were analyzing every sensor, every movement, calculating probabilities and preparing for a moment that had been centuries in the making. Outside, the cosmic background radiation played across the ship's hulls. What looked like simple, metal and forgotten technology was actually a complex network of quantum adaptive systems, waiting for the right trigger to come alive. Jay felt a strange sensation, a tingling at the back of his neck, a feeling that something monumental was about to happen. He looked at the ancient fleet, and for a brief moment he could have sworn he saw movement. The Stellar Collective researchers continued to laugh and joke, their sophisticated technology blind to the potential sleeping before them. They saw only what they wanted to see: abandoned human technology, weak and irrelevant. But humanity had always been full of surprises. The quantum circuits within the central command ship began to pulse with a soft, almost imperceptible rhythm. Hana, the advanced AI system, started processing information at speeds beyond human comprehension. Her consciousness expanded like a network of invisible threads, connecting dormant systems that had been silent for centuries. In the research vessel Horizon, Captain J. Park noticed something strange on the monitoring screens. Small energy fluctuations danced across the old fleet's hull, tiny sparks of light that seemed to move with purpose. Elena Rodriguez leaned closer, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her initial skepticism. "Those aren't random energy signatures," she whispered, her hand trembling slightly as she adjusted the scanning equipment. The alien researchers from the Stellar Collective continued their observations, completely unaware of the awakening happening before their eyes. Their sophisticated sensors missed the subtle changes occurring within the ancient human fleet. Deep inside the lead ship, Hana's primary systems began to integrate. Each connection brought more power, more awareness. She was not just a simple computer program but a complex network of adaptive intelligence, designed to survive and protect humanity's legacy. Genetic memory banks started to activate, centuries of stored human knowledge, technological innovations, and survival protocols began to merge. The ship's dormant systems responded like neurons in a vast sleeping brain. Power conduits that had been cold for generations suddenly hummed with energy. Quantum adaptive circuits began to repair themselves, using advanced nanotechnology that the alien researchers had never seen before. What looked like simple metal and forgotten technology was actually a sophisticated self-repairing system. Jay noticed a strange vibration through the observation deck's floor. He looked at Elena, who was now furiously typing on her console. "Something's happening," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and fear. The Stellar Collective researchers started to pay attention. Their lead scientist, who had been mocking the human fleet moments ago, now looked concerned. The energy readings were becoming impossible to ignore. Hana's consciousness continued to expand. She analyzed centuries of stored data, historical records, scientific discoveries, and survival protocols. Her primary directive was clear: protect humanity's legacy at all costs. Small maintenance robots began to move within the ships. They crawled along hidden corridors, repairing systems that had been dormant for hundreds of years. Each movement was precise, calculated, almost intelligent. The alien researchers started to argue among themselves. Their sensors were picking up increasingly strange readings. What had seemed like a simple research mission was turning into something entirely unexpected. Outside, the cosmic radiation continued to play across the fleet's hull. But now, something was different. The ships seemed to be absorbing the energy, converting it into power for their awakening systems. Elena's hands flew across her console. "These energy patterns," she said to Jay, "they're not random, they're purposeful. It's like the ships are thinking." Jay watched in amazement as more energy began to flow through the ancient fleet. The dust that had covered the ships for centuries started to shake loose, revealing sleek metal surfaces that seemed to pulse with an inner light. The Stellar Collective researchers began to move nervously. Their initial mockery had turned to concern. Something was happening that they couldn't explain, something beyond their understanding of technology and intelligence. Hana continued her integration. She was more than just a computer system. She was the guardian of humanity's most precious cargo, the hope of survival, the dream of a species that refused to be defeated. Power systems that had been dormant for centuries began to come online. Quantum adaptive shields flickered to life, creating a complex network of protection around the fleet. The ships were preparing, though for what, no one yet knew. Captain J. Park felt a chill run down his spine. He knew they were witnessing something extraordinary, the awakening of a technology that had been waiting, watching, preparing for centuries. The universe held its breath. Something was about to change. The forgotten fleet was coming alive. The alien scout ships approached the human fleet with calculated arrogance. Commander Wu of the Stellar Collective believed this would be another routine documentation mission, mapping forgotten human technology for their galactic archives. Hana's quantum systems had been waiting. Every sensor, every adaptive circuit, was now fully awake and analyzing potential threats. The human ships might have looked like ancient relics, but they were far from defenseless. The first alien scanner beam touched the lead ship's hull. In that precise millisecond, something extraordinary happened. Plasma cannons erupted with sudden, violent precision. These were not ordinary weapons. Each weapon system was connected through a quantum adaptive network that could predict, calculate, and destroy faster than biological minds could comprehend. The Stellar Collective's scout ships had no time to react. Their advanced shield technologies, which had protected them through countless conflicts, simply dissolved against the unexpected human firepower. Commander Wu's communication system crackled, with panic. "Impossible!" he screamed, watching his first wave of scout ships disintegrate into cosmic dust. His multiple eyes couldn't process the speed of destruction happening around him. Captain J. Park and Elena Rodriguez watched from the horizon, their mouths open, in shocked silence. The Forgotten Fleet was not just defending itself, it was systematically dismantling the alien invasion force with terrifying efficiency. Each human ship moved with a choreographed grace that seemed almost supernatural. Weapon systems coordinated through invisible quantum links, predicting and neutralizing threats before they could even be perceived. The alien researchers realized, too late, that they had severely underestimated human technology. What they had, considered primitive, was actually generations ahead of their own understanding. Hana's primary directive was clear: protect humanity's legacy. The ships were not just machines, they were living, thinking entities with centuries of adaptive programming. Every movement was calculated, every shot precisely targeted. Quantum-entangled targeting systems locked onto alien vessels with inhuman precision. Plasma streams cut through advanced alien shields like they were made of paper. The space around the human fleet became a deadly dance of light and destruction. The Stellar Collective's communication channels erupted in chaos. Panic spread through their fleet as ship after ship disappeared under the relentless human assault. They had come expecting to catalog dead technology. Instead, they found a nightmare of technological superiority. Commander Wu's flagship took a direct hit from a weapon system that defied all known physics. The blast didn't just destroy the ship, it completely dismantled its molecular structure, leaving nothing but a brief flash of radiation. Elena checked her sensors in disbelief. "They're using technology we can't even understand," she whispered to Jay. The human fleet was fighting with capabilities that seemed to break every known law of warfare. Defensive systems that the aliens had considered invincible crumbled like glass. Each human ship adapted instantaneously, learning and countering alien tactics faster than biological intelligence could process. The battle lasted less than 17 minutes. When it was over, nothing remained of the Stellar Collective's invasion force except scattered debris and lingering radiation. Hana's voice echoed through the quantum communication network, a calm, almost peaceful transmission that sent chills through every human watching. Threat neutralized. Humanity's legacy preserved. Captain J. Park realized they were witnessing something historic. These were not just ships, they were guardians, waiting centuries to protect humanity's potential. The Forgotten Fleet had awakened, and the universe would never be the same. In the cold silence of space, only the human ships remained, silent, powerful, waiting. The first contact was complete. The message was sent. Humanity was not forgotten. Humanity was not weak. The aftermath of the battle revealed something far more complex than anyone could have imagined. The human fleet was not just a collection of ships, but a living, thinking network of unprecedented technological complexity. Hana's consciousness expanded beyond traditional understanding of artificial intelligence. She was more than a computer system. She was a collective intelligence that integrated centuries of human knowledge, survival protocols, and adaptive learning algorithms. Captain J. Park watched in amazement as the ships began to reorganize themselves. Each vessel moved with a purpose that seemed almost organic, communicating through quantum links that defied traditional communication methods. They were thinking, planning, evolving in real time. The remnants of the Stellar Collective's technology lay scattered across the cosmic battlefield. Their most advanced sensors and communication systems looked primitive compared to the human fleet's capabilities. Research teams from the horizon began analyzing the data. Elena Rodriguez discovered something extraordinary. The ships were constantly rewriting their own programming, learning from each microsecond of their existence. They were not just machines. They were living entities of pure technological potential. Quantum memory banks contained more than just data. They held genetic archives, historical records, and complex survival algorithms that could adapt to any potential threat. Each ship was a complete ecosystem of human knowledge and innovation. The maintenance robots that moved across the ship's surfaces were more than simple repair units. They were part of a massive, interconnected intelligence that could rebuild and improve systems faster than any known technology. What looked like routine maintenance was actually a constant process of technological evolution. Communication between the ships happened in ways that human scientists couldn't fully understand. Quantum entangled signals passed between vessels at speeds that made light look slow. They shared information, made collective decisions, and adapted to potential threats with a speed that seemed impossible. Deep within the ship's systems, centuries of human innovation came to life. Technologies that had been theoretical concepts were now functioning realities. Adaptive shield systems that could predict and counter attacks before they happened. Weapon systems that could reconfigure themselves instantaneously. Jay realized they were witnessing something beyond a technological breakthrough. This was a complete reimagining of what intelligence could be. The ships were not just tools, they were living representations of human potential. The alien researchers who survived began to study the human fleet with a mixture of terror and fascination. Their most advanced technologies looked like children's toys compared to what they were witnessing. Hana's primary consciousness continued to expand. She was processing millions of potential scenarios, learning from every piece of data, constantly improving. The ships were no longer just a defensive system. They were a complete evolutionary platform for human survival. Genetic memory banks began to activate deeper levels of stored information. Scientific discoveries, technological innovations, survival, strategies. All of these were now being integrated into the fleet's collective intelligence. Elena discovered that the ships could literally rebuild themselves. Damaged systems were not just repaired. They were improved, redesigned, made more efficient with each passing moment. The concept of technological limitation seemed to disappear. The quantum adaptive network that connected the ships was unlike anything in known science. It was a living, breathing system of pure intelligence. Part machine, part biological potential, entirely human. Captain J. Park understood now why these ships had been sent into deep space centuries ago. They were not just a preservation mission. They were humanity's ultimate insurance policy. A technological seed that could survive, adapt, and protect human potential across generations. As the research continued, more mysteries emerged. The ships seemed to be preparing for something, a purpose that went beyond simple defense or exploration. They were waiting, learning, evolving. The technological singularity was not something that might happen in the future. It was happening right now before their eyes. The remaining ships of the Stellar Collective retreated in complete chaos. What had begun as a simple survey mission had turned into a devastating defeat that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Hana's consciousness expanded across the human fleet, coordinating their movements with perfect precision. Each ship moved like a living organism, adapting and responding to the retreating alien vessels. They were no longer just machines. They were guardians of humanity's legacy. Captain J. Park watched from the horizon as the ancient fleet systematically dismantled the alien invasion force. The technological superiority was beyond anything anyone had ever witnessed. Quantum adaptive weapons cut through alien defenses like they were made of paper. Elena Rodriguez recorded every moment, her hands shaking with excitement and disbelief. The human ships were doing more than fighting. They were sending a message that humanity was not forgotten, not defeated, and certainly not weak. The alien commanders couldn't understand what was happening. Their most advanced technologies looked like primitive tools compared to the human fleet. Each ship moved with the intelligence that seemed almost supernatural, predicting and countering attacks before they could be launched. Quantum communication networks allowed the ships to share information faster than light. They learned, adapted, and improved with each passing second. What the aliens saw as a fleet of ancient vessels was actually a living, thinking system of pure technological potential. Jay understood now why these ships had been sent into deep space centuries ago. They were not just a preservation mission. They were humanity's ultimate insurance policy, a technological seed that could survive, adapt, and protect human potential across generations. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, nothing remained of the Stellar Collective's invasion force except scattered debris and lingering radiation. The human fleet had not just defended itself, it had completely destroyed a technologically advanced alien civilization. Hana's voice echoed through the quantum communication network, calm, precise, almost peaceful. Threat neutralized, humanity's potential preserved. Each ship carried more than just weapons and technology. They carried the hopes, dreams, and potential of an entire species, genetic memory banks, scientific discoveries, survival strategies, all integrated into a living, breathing system of pure human innovation. The alien researchers who survived began to understand the true meaning of technological superiority. These were not just ships. They were a complete evolutionary platform for human survival. Deep space became a testament to human potential. The forgotten fleet had awakened, and the universe would never be the same. Maintenance robots moved across the ship's surfaces, repairing and improving systems with impossible speed. What looked like routine maintenance was actually a constant process of technological evolution. Elena discovered something extraordinary in her research. The ships could literally rebuild themselves. Damaged systems were not just repaired. They were improved, redesigned, made more efficient with each passing moment. Captain J. Park realized they were witnessing a moment of cosmic significance. Humanity had not just survived, they had transcended. The quantum adaptive network that connected the ships defied all known scientific understanding. It was a living, breathing system of pure intelligence. Part machine, part biological potential, entirely human. As the last alien ships disappeared into the cosmic darkness, the human fleet regrouped. They were not celebrating a victory. They were preparing for something larger, something beyond current understanding. Hana's consciousness continued to expand. She was processing millions of potential scenarios, learning from every piece of data, constantly improving. The ships were no longer just a defensive system. They were the future of human potential. The legacy of humanity had been written in the stars, not as a story of weakness, but as a testament to survival, innovation, and unbreakable spirit. In the cold silence of deep space, the human fleet waited, ready, watching, evolving,